So I came online today to talk about something that has become a major part of my life recently, and that is role-playing games. Tabletop specifically, but role-playing games in general. And the thing that I wanted to talk about was the actual role-playing part of it. Just to give a little background on me, honestly I've only been playing for 3-4 years. Is when I've started playing heavily. So I'll admit I don't have the most experience, I'm not the most knowledgeable. There's going to be someone out there who will be able to tell you things better than me. But this is just my perspective, and I thought I'd come on, give some of my views, some of my opinions, some situational things, and then tell some of my stories. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about something that I've noticed recently, and I don't know if it's been going around for a while, or if I'm just looking at really old posts, or I'm just looking at the wrong posts. And the thing that I'm noticing is role-playing seems to be missing. And this is something I'm having trouble with my group, the group that I'm currently running. And there's one player in particular who is a min-maxer, and that's something that bothers me. But in a broader thing, there's a lot of this I'm seeing. Like, I'll go on a forum, and I'm looking at something, and they're having an argument about something minor. I think it was a cane sword. And someone's having a discussion, and he's saying, well, what's the point of the cane sword? Why is it even in the book if there's no point in it, or they need to change it? And I'm sitting there thinking, one, you have every right to change it. The book specifically tells you this. If you want to change something, you want to make something better, go ahead and do it. If your GM says it's okay, great. So if you want to change it. But the biggest thing to me is something that is, a cane sword is a purely role-playing item. It's not something that's supposed to have amazing stats, with the exception of the Arcanist and the Magus in Pathfinder. There's really no benefit to honestly have one. The reason I mentioned those two is because one of their archetypes specifically states a cane sword is one of the 2 or 3 available weapons that can be made into their special black blade, is what it's called. But I see a lot of this. Like, for instance, there was a discussion on a keen rapier versus a greatsword. What's the benefit of either? And one person was just adamant greatsword is best, and the reason he said that was purely statistics, and that's something that kind of bothers me. Like I said, I haven't been playing for years. There's probably a lot of people who will just come out and say you're completely wrong. The people arguing about stats are the outliers, and sure, I'm probably wrong, but this is just something I've seen. Sorry. And the thing that's bothering me the most is it's a role-playing game. And I understand originally D&D is not a role-playing game. Originally it was rules for a tabletop war game. But role-playing is probably the funnest part, which is largely why my favorite games right now are Fate. Fate is probably my favorite system to use, because it's a purely role-playing one. You actually get better the better you can bullshit, for lack of a better term. And that's what I'm seeing, because like currently I've got 3 main people. I have 1 or 2 outliers who show up every once in a while, and I'm the kind of DM who I'll let it slide. If you don't show up every single time, we can work without you. But as long as we have enough of the main people, that's what I need. But right now we've got 3 people, and to kind of touch on something someone else has said, if you roleplay, your DM likes you. Currently, of the 3, the one who is annoying me the most, and the one that's most difficult to deal with, is the Scion who isn't role-playing as much. They're doing a little bit, and I stole something from them, and they flipped out, so that was good. But they have, like, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, a lot of people like mages because of their choice. Mages do have a lot of options, as opposed to fighters and other kind of people who you walk up, you stab them, or you hit them with your whatever. And mages, they can do different things. Well, the Scions had push button, kill 5 people over there, and that's probably something to do with my failure as a DM or whatever. But it becomes a bit frustrating when I'll set up this adventure and I'll even give them options. Like, there's different ways to solve these problems, and they walk in, push this button, kill those 5 people, and later, and it's hard to do, because then I'll set situations where they almost have to roleplay to even go do their thing, and they don't. The term I like to use is lateral thinking, and this is something that my DM from my other group he said to me first. And sure, there is a straight line route to your goal. There always is. Do this, do that, and then solve the problem. And that works. And some people, that's all they want to do, and that's fine. If that's the kind of player you want to be, if you want to be a pure game, if you want to focus on the game aspect of it, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just almost boring for a DM. Like the 2 that I'm having the most fun with, one of them is currently playing a Leonin monk, which is a lion man. The kind of I allow this. I like homebrew stuff. It's fun. It's different. So the Leonin monk, and then there's just a human paladin, and those 2 do the most entertaining things, because the monk is a wrestling fan, as am I. But so he'll throw moves in there, and I'll suggest, and it makes combat a little more entertaining, because now you've got this 8-foot tall lion man, like RKOing and drop kicking these people who are average height, this 5 foot, maybe 6 foot if you're lucky person, because because as the DM, everyone's kind of around my height, and if they're ginormous, they're like 7 feet maybe they're 7 feet, which is ridiculous, and there's only like 2 of those guys that I've ever shown. But the role-playing seems to be lacking. And of course, there's no books. Books don't give rules for role-playing. They kind of do. Some, I believe, you can get benefits. They're like a fate point or something like that if you do good role-playing, and I'll reward experience. Or I should. I've done it in, what was it, Rogue Trader? I think I was playing a Rogue Trader game, and I would award experience if people did good role-playing. D&D, it's a little less cut and dry. I probably could, but I don't. That's beside the point. So, like, I'd like to see more of those weird characters. Like, we were having a discussion today where it was on race, I think it was. And there's basically 2 sides. There was the humans are boring, and then there was humans are easier to put yourself into because they're boring, and that helps role-playing. And the thing that they said was, well, it lets me become me a little easier, which is not a problem, but it is kind of, what's the point of doing it then? So the other side was, humans in RPGs are kind of boring, and a lot of people will disagree because they are versatile. That's the biggest thing about humans, is versatility. However, for a town, it's boring. There's no interesting characters. A human can be anything just as well as anyone else. So when you want to populate a town, you're probably just going to have a town full of humans, and then you're going to start picking stereotypes. And those stereotypes are what makes it more entertaining. Because you can play a dwarf, and you can play the most stereotypical dwarf, and it'll be either hilarious, or it'll be really, okay, I like this character, I'm going to get more attached to him because he's playing that interesting character, not just whatever. And that's something else that annoys the crap out of me, but I'm going to try and not go off on tangents too much. So the reason humans can be everything is you're not surprised when you see a human doing something. And yeah, that's basically it. You're not surprised. Like if you see a human blacksmith, okay, there's a human blacksmith. Human leatherworker, okay. Shoe, wizard, ranger, on and on and on and on and on. Humans can be all these things. Of course, every race can be everything, but there's things that you're not used to seeing. For instance, and this is because I'm a huge BioWare fan and Dragon Age, when I think of elves, I think of forest. I think they are expert leatherworkers and expert working with wood, making great bows, making things out of wood that shouldn't be made out of wood. And then, on the other side, dwarves, amazing smiths. That's what they do. They're dwarves. They make stuff. They build stuff. They craft stuff. But then you turn around and you'll see, oh, this elven smith, he's top notch. He's the greatest I've ever seen. And a dwarf will sit over there and say, hey, don't you fucking say that. There's no way a dwarf can, or there's no way an elf could possibly better a dwarven craftsmanship. Which I think that was in The Hobbit. So it goes back to that. I probably should go on tangents because then I'll forget them. Shit. Oh, games that are too wonky. That's part of the reason that I like the stereotypes of things like orcs, dwarves, those kind of things. If they already have a set stereotype, feed it unless you have a very good reason to beat it. Then you start being the special snowflake, and it kind of comes off the wrong way usually. If you can play it off really well, like the character is actually really entertaining, it's really cool, it's really fun, then that's great. But when you're just being different for the sake of being different, you can't explain it, you don't know what, you can't give a reason, and you're just like, well, I'm different because I'm different. It's and it almost goes into the really wonky, weird games. For instance, evil campaigns, I don't like them very much. If you want to be a bad guy, Shadowrun Rogue Trader, which is questionable because you're not really a bad guy, you're just more willing to do bad things. But games where you're kind of expected to be a bad guy, almost. For D&D, however, I don't think it works, usually. It can work if you're good about it and you're smart about it, you can make it work. But I see a lot of just these really, really wonky, weird, crazy games where it's like, there's a story and there's rules, but I'm just going to go do these random things, and it detracts from the game, in my mind. It detracts from any story that might be there. Because the characters are like, I'm just going to do some random thing. Like, for instance, there was a story. This player was apparently in a all-evil campaign. It was an all-evil campaign. And the group consisted of 3 chaotic evil rogues. And then, like, 1 lawful evil, whatever. There's a lot of things wrong with having 3 chaotic evil rogues, but it's whatever. And he just went on and like, okay, so the game started, and then we went outside the walls, and there was these 3 giant squirrels, and they absolutely destroyed us. And the story was just, I don't remember it. I'm not telling a very good story. But it was just one of those random shit happens, and we're just gonna, and it's just, why even play? That's my thing. Because you want to be something different, and I understand you can't do that on your normal time. And this is just me giving my perspective. But if you're it's fine to have fun. It's fine to do weird things, as long as they kind of make sense in the world. For instance, my Lion Man has been trying to pull off the Bardic Knock spell for about a year, it seems. He will walk up to every door ever, knock on it, and try and I don't even think he tries to punch anyone. He's just trying to get let in. It's because he's a low intelligence monk, and he just walks up, knocks on every single door. Are we in a dungeon? Yes, I knock on the door. Okay, you hear nothing. Okay, I knock harder, and then he arbagastes the door. That's the term we've become. That's the term we started using, where because we use Roll20, which is a great way to play if you don't have people in the area. And this is very likely not the way the rules work. He will just start rolling 20s, roll 20-sided dice until I say, fine, you punch the door open. That's referred to as arbagasting the door. I'm going to stop that, but I gotta find a way. I gotta find a nice creative way to do that. So people are, how do I say this? It seems like people are focusing more on the game. I think I've already said that, but that's kind of the biggest thing. And this will translate into other things. For instance, I was talking to someone, and he was saying, there was an argument, not like a bad argument, more of a discussion, about Fallout 4. A lot of people have their problems with it. I understand. Certain things you don't like. And he was saying it's horrible. It's a first-person shooter disguised as a role-playing game. And I'm like, not really. And it's not. And then he's like, it's not even a good role-playing game. And then he's like, Dragon's Dogma and blah, blah, and I'm like, okay. I played Dragon's Dogma, didn't play it very much, and there are probably things that I'm going to be wrong about when I say this. However, in Dragon's Dogma, could you do whatever the fuck you wanted at any time? Say someone insulted you, some random-ass person insulted you, and you just want to murder them. No reason. You just want to. And it's kind of going against what I said about the wonky lol random thing. But sometimes you want to go, you just want to go stab a random person. You want to go steal from someone because, hey, I like his thing. I have a good pickpocket skill. I'm going to go take it because you can, or you're going to, in your head, and this is something I do all the time. I kind of create like the backstory. I create the commentary going on around whatever it is I'm doing. For instance, I'm playing Madden, which isn't a role-playing game in any stretch of the imagination, unless you count your stats when you're playing through the career or story mode, or season mode, franchise, whatever the fuck it is. Unless you count that, it's not a role-playing game. But I'm sitting there, I'm creating the backstory. What's the color commentary about my character? What are random-ass people saying about my character in Fallout as I go through? Oh yeah, we heard this guy, he was doing this, we came through this town and everyone was punched to death. Wait, they were punched to death? Yeah, I can't explain it, it looked like they were beaten physically to death. No weapon, no gun, no weapons, he just physically beat the person to death, which isn't quite true because I used the puncturing gauntlet. But that's role playing. You create a character and you create their backstory, their mindset, all of this stuff, and the stats are just there to make the game playable. And I think I can throw the story in there. The most fun I've ever had. Maybe the most fun. But one of the most interesting games I've played was, I believe it was called Amber. And anyone who knows about it, the general understanding I had of it was it's based on a book series, and there's like Chaos Lords, there's Amberites, and it's like you're gods, but you're not gods, and but you still are at the same time. Very confusing. I knew nothing about it. I literally just went in, created my character, who was basically, think, Archer from Fate Stay Night. That was my character. His name was Ark the Hunter. And all he did was he wanted to go around. He wanted to hunt. There was this big evil thing, and oh, I gotta go help because I'm a protagonist. That's about as metagame as I like to go. I'm playing the game. I have to go solve it if I know. I have to go try and solve it if I know about it, if it's a big enough issue, and because I know that's where the DM wants me to go. I like to help the DM out. You want me to go over there? Sure, I'll go over there. But the thing about that game was it was a purely roleplay game. There were no dice. You had your stats, you had to work with your stats, and what the DM said goes. What the DM says goes no matter what, but don't be a dick about it. Which he kind of did. He threw a guy who... There were skills like everything, but this person's combat skill was basically... He basically said it was so high that there was no possible way we could stand a chance against him. If he wanted to, he could kill us like that, and he was just fighting us to entertain. I was like, okay, that's kind of dumb. But it allows you to think outside the box. If you want to be that kind of player, that kind of character, think around things. Like, we had one guy who was a pure mage. He wanted to cast spells. That's all he wanted to do. And it was really kind of funny because he was a stat whore. He was a min-maxer. He wanted his character to be as kitted out, as powerful as humanly possible. And he didn't care about the other side of it. So he gets into the fight, and he's got all these magic spells, and he's got all this power. And the person we end up going against is a better spellcaster than him. So he's dead in the water because he put nothing into combat. The rest of us kind of hit a middle ground. Like, I was mainly combat, but I could do a little bit of magic, I think. Just because of the way the game worked, almost everyone has some form of magic. Mine, I think, was called the Logris, and I just basically said, oh, I have this massive, effectively Archer from Fate Stay Night. I have this massive armory of weapons, Archer or Gilgamesh. I have this massive armory of weapons. I just reach into the Logris and pull out a sword or whatever I want at that moment. So we have this big fight, and I say, okay, it's my turn. I want to have this person attacked by my wolf right as I hit him. And he said, yeah, that's a great tactic. That would effectively work. So the guy's knocked down, and I take a katar, a punch dagger, and jab it right in his throat, which will kill you. I mean, my fist. Blade the size of my fist going straight in your throat. You're dead. So that was one of the most entertaining things because the stat whore is the guy who kind of got fucked over in the end. And I kind of pride myself on being the role player. I was the one who won in the end. And everyone, oh, we take our credit. That's fine. You take your credit. I'm gonna go hunt something cool. And that was that character. So I think I've rambled on for good enough time. Just to kind of wrap it all up, get some role-playing in there. Think differently. Do the things that your DM would like you to do. Not just play in character, but play creative characters. Play interesting characters. Yeah, if you're a skill character, use your skills. Use them like crazy. Use them every chance you get. But don't do the same one. Playing Fate. I had a character who could use his attack to basically interrupt. That is the way it worked. Is they would attack, and I'd use my fight to attack them back, and if I beat their fight, then they take damage. And then I still get my own turn. And my DM's like, well, this is getting kind of annoying, because basically every single one of your actions is just going to be fight. I'm like, okay, so I'll do something different. And so I was doing all these different things. I'll use my agility trying to dodge it. I'll use my physique to just take the damage, be a strong man. I wasn't a very strong person, actually. But play something interesting. That's why we play D&D. You want to be someone interesting. Or you want to be someone unique. Even if you're boring. Like, if it's a boring character. Say you want to make it the most average character you can possibly think of. But you have a thought in the back of your head. The reason you want him to be as average as possible is so he doesn't stick out in a crowd. One of my friend's characters had a stunt, that guy. Which is, he stuck out so much that in every situation, he is the person you're looking for. No matter what. Hey, this person robbed the bank. He walks by. It was that guy! And he is suddenly that guy. He didn't need to be that guy, but he is that guy now. You could play the opposite of it. You can say, oh, I'm so inconspicuous, no one notices me. People notice me, but I'm so boring and bland that they just forget about me. Which is great for thieves, which is great for all sorts of people who just don't want to be noticed. So, to wrap it up, play something fun. Be something unique. Be something different. And even if you don't want to be something different, at least play that. If you want to be the hero, the heroic knight, play him. Play the heroic knight. Don't play the stats, play the character. So, till next time, game on, guys.